Welcome back into the Ohio MMA podcast. I'm your host, David McKinney. Joining me on today's episode is undefeated amateur fighter Ray Taylor. What's up, Ray?
What's going on, brother? How's it going?
Not much, man. I'm excited to have you on. You are, as I mentioned, undefeated amateur fighter, returning back to the cage at Ohio Combat League 37 on April 19th in Newark, Ohio. So, how's training going? You got the quick turnaround, just like 6 weeks in between fights. How you feeling heading into this one?
I'm feeling really good. At my gym, we always do a good job in preparing for our fights and everything like that. So I'm definitely ready. It's a big opportunity for me, so like I'm not taking it like lightly or anything like that. So
Yeah, so you, as you mentioned, big opportunity. It looks like you just continue to test yourself through each fight. You faced tougher and tougher opponents. Your first fight against Frank Lasota, 1-0 guy. Your second fight, Tyler Silverthorne, had 10 fights. He's 4-6, and then another big step up in competition. You're facing Robi Cvitic, who is 4-1 against your 2-0. How do you feel about taking the step up in competition against a really tough guy?
uh I mean, if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. So I mean, it's just another name in between me and my dreams. So that's just what it is. I just go out there, fight, and handle business.
Yeah, so you actually it looks like you got your start in MMA. I know you did you wrestled growing up. Did you do any other sports or was that like kind of your main base for getting into MMA?
I mean, I played ball. I played baseball. Played baseball for about what 7 years.
Okay. For Newark High School?
Not for the high school. I went through like little league and then like middle
Oh,
school
okay.
ball and stuff, and then I quit after middle school.
Gotcha. So what was the transition like from wrestling? Because it looks like I saw some old articles on you. It looks like you were always kind of the underdog in wrestling. I think you were like unranked and won and got a district runner up or something like that. What was it like making the jump from wrestling into MMA?
Uh, Wrestling definitely helps a lot. That's a big base in MMA. So like the jump wasn't like it wasn't too difficult. I just had to learn a little bit of striking and stuff like that. But I'd say probably the hardest part would be like mixing the wrestling into MMA wrestling because it's like completely different. You got the clinch and the cage work and stuff like that. But it felt like a good transition. I feel like my wrestling is holding up on its own. So
Yeah, and one interesting thing about you and your frame, you're one of the tallest flyweights I think I've ever seen. You're like 6 feet tall. How do you feel like you use that advantage as a really tall flyweight against guys who a lot of times you're 6, 7, 8 inches taller than the guy you're facing?
yeah, I use that reach, man. Keep that jab out there. But I mean, I am tall, but I'm just so skinny compared to like everybody else that's at my size. Everybody's got all kinds of muscle in their body and stuff like that. So like it kind of evens out my tallness to their muscle, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. One thing actually in your fight, I know you actually went up to 135. I think it was kind of a last minute fight for your last one. But we were talking in the commentary that it looks like you might eventually fell out to be a bigger weight class. Is that something that as you're still a pretty young guy, you're only 20 years old, you think you might have to eventually move up in weight class as you continue to build muscle and grow onto your frame?
So like my goal with it is like I want to fight at 25 and become a champion. Like, obviously everybody's got UFC dreams that's in this sport. So like I want to be a 125-pound champion, then I want to bump up, take the 135-pound belt, and then I want to bump up one more time. I'm gonna go 45
Yeah, you definitely
ultimately.
ha yeah, you definitely have the frame to do it. I mean, at being 6 feet tall, there's not even that many 6 feet tall featherweights, which is interesting. So you've definitely got the frame to bulk up and do that. One thing too, I know you came from a wrestling background, and you said you learned striking just through the MMA gym. Your first fight, man, you came out against Frank Lasota, and even Max Metzger was doing commentary for that when he was like, "Man, this guy looks like he must have some boxing experience." You definitely did not look like a debut amateur fighter. You were doing the Philly shell. You were doing the shoulder roll. You were doing things that debut amateur fighters don't typically do. Especially, I think you were only 19 at the time.
Mhm.
Where does your kind of your striking come from? Is that just something you felt like when you started doing it, it was more natural, or do you have a little bit of boxing in your background?
So like not necessarily like boxing. Like obviously like I've been in the gym at VO2 for a while doing boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, but like growing up I didn't have like the best childhood, best life. So I was always like, street fighting and getting into mischief that I shouldn't have been. So I guess that kind of like transfers over. It probably sounds terrible, but
Yeah.
like I guess like street fighting, I've always had the hands. Like I've always been able to fight for myself.
Yeah, I mean, even Street Fighter, you didn't look like a Street Fighter out there, man. You look like you're well beyond your years, and that's something too that I feel like not a lot of fighters come out, in their first, second fights with the level of confidence, and just you look like you meant to be in there and made to be in there with, it's like I said, something that when you see it, it's like you've got that it factor, and you look like you shine the brightest when you're inside the cage. Where does that come from?
Confidence is key, brother. Confidence is key. I just know that if I step in that cage and I'm scared, like bad things are going to come out of it. Which I mean, every time I step in, like I'm scared, but I use it as power. So like just being confident in the cage, it puts you a step ahead of your opponent every time because they see that you're confident about this fight and they're like, "Oh, do I have this? Like, am I going to be able to do it?" So I guess
Yeah.
just trying to not necessarily keep a big head, but just being strong and knowing what I'm gonna do when it's time. So
That's definitely, like I said, I feel like it's almost something you can't really teach. Like it's like an intrinsic thing that you have to have, and it's definitely unique. I mean, it takes guts to get in there for any fighter, but then to go in there and, like I said, look like in your first and second fight, like you did it. Like I said, it looks like you've been preparing your whole life for that.
yeah, I've been trying my best, man, for real.
Uh, yeah. So one other thing too. So in your first fight, you really there was a little bit of grappling, but it was mostly striking, and so that was like what I was expecting in the second fight. In the second fight, you came out and you pulled the little switcheroo on me. You're grappling, and then you won via submission, a Von Flue choke. What was it like? Was that kind of just the game plan of I mean, you fought a tough wrestler in Tyler Silverthorne. Um, but was that kind of the plan to wrestle with him a little bit, or did you want to continue to strike, or how did that one go down?
So look, all right. I I swear on everything, I wasn't even trying to submit that guy. Like that wasn't even a submission I was trying to put in. I was just trying to pull him off my back because like I made a mistake and let him take my back. And somehow I guess the submission worked. I don't really know how. I just put a little bit of pressure into it and then he tapped from it. But ultimately, I wanted to keep him on the feet and strike with him because I'm trying to learn my striking a lot better. Because I already know I got grappling in the bag. I've got jujitsu, I've got wrestling and stuff like that. So I've just been
Yeah.
just trying to showcase.
Well, next time, then maybe there will be striking. You won't make me look bad. I'm like, this guy's a striker, and come on, you're tapping guys. I'm like, the guy doesn't know what he's talking about. But your first fight, you definitely the striking looked good. But you talked a little bit about VO2 Fitness. I know you guys are a gym. I feel like in the last like even like 4 or 5 years, I feel like post COVID when OCL first started going to Newark, and now OCL regularly goes out there is kind of I feel like the first time that I became aware of the gym. But you guys have continued to impress and put out a lot of great fighters. How did you find the gym, and tell me a little bit about training there at VO2?
Uh, so I think how I found the gym was I wrestled with Jade Batros, which is somebody who fights through our gym, and I wrestled with him, and I guess like just staying connected and staying friends. I seen him like start training and everything like that, and so that's kind of how I connected with the gym, and then from there, it's been upwards ever since then. We got a great place. VO2 is a great place to train. We got a lot of great like coaches and staff, like black belts on black belts. We got some of the greatest like stand up coaches. Austin Hollingshead's a really good guy when it comes to that. But yeah, it's a great gym. And it's like a family too. Everybody gets along well. There's never any drama or anything like that. Nobody's out here hard sparring trying to cause CTE or anything like.
Yeah, that's always the big thing too is train smarter. I mean, train hard, but also
Mhm.
train smart too, right? Like
Yep.
you're a young guy, you want to have a long sport in this career and or a long career in this sport, and you don't want to derail it with those gym battles.
For sure, for sure.
But you also, you're fighting. I think this is the second time you fought at Cherry Valley Hotel in Newark. I think that your debut fight was there as well. But
Mhm.
you get to fight, at home, and then also with a bunch of teammates on the card. It looks like there's five VO2 fighters on the card. You've got, three amateurs. You've got yourself. Keegan Gallagher, and then as you mentioned, Jade Beatrice fighting for a title, and then also two pros and Robert Presley, and then the main event man and Trayvon Eller. What's it like getting to fight not only at home but with so many of your teammates on the card as well?
It's a surreal feeling, you know. It kind of brings me back to the wrestling days, like going down to a school as a team and then kicking some ass and coming back home. So I really like that we all get to like fight on the same card and together and stuff like that. Yeah, it's pretty dope.
Yeah, it's always interesting. The fans are pretty rabid for for VO2, man. It's crazy, but there's definitely a lot of support out there in Newark, it's cool to see MMA growing because I've been around this for a long time, and for the long forever there was nothing really out in Newark and east of Columbus and really outside of Columbus. Like you almost had to get all the way to like Zanesville, but it's nice to see the sport growing up in that area as well. I feel like the area has just kind of grown in general, like more and more people, as people kind of gravitate from Columbus to a little bit more of a little slower lifestyle. But it is interesting seeing how quickly you guys have made a name for yourselves in MMA.
Yeah, it's crazy,
Uh,
man. It really is.
yeah. So you are, like I said, returning to the cage. April 19th. But one thing I noticed after your last fight or before your last fight, you got a nickname, man, the Slim Reaper. How did you get that nickname?
All right, so obviously I'm a skinny guy. I was just sitting there with my homie. We were sitting there. I'm like, dude, what is gonna be my nickname? Like, what should I do? And we're sitting there ringing stuff off, and I got all my homies telling me different stuff, and I'm like, nah, none of those stick. And then we were watching a scary movie, and we just so happened to be watching the Grim Reaper movies, bro. And and here my homie goes. He's like the Slim Reaper. I was like, yo, that's hard. So I put it on my Instagram like as like a little poll or whatever. Everybody voted for it. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how I got it.
Yeah, man, you have a lot of support on your Instagram. You were in the Rising Star. I think you were in either the finals or semifinals.
Yeah, I went to
Where
the
do you get it?
finals.
Yeah, the amount of support, man, is just crazy. What do you kind of attribute that to? Just friends and family, or do you feel like you're building up a little bit of a fan base as well on top of that, or where does that come from?
100% both. You know, my friends and family, they're huge into supporting me. I got a great support team, but I feel like I'm definitely building up a big fan base. Like every day I'm getting new followers and messages from people like, "Yo, you look so good in the cage, blah 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 blah." So like a lot of it's friends and family, but I'm definitely building a nice fan base for myself for sure.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the future. I know you've got this fight in front of you against Robi Cvitic on April 19th. But obviously UFC is the goal in a year or down the line. But where do you feel like you're going to be at in the next year or so? What do you have a game plan for the next year to 18 months of your career?
The next year, I would say I'm 100% gonna be pro before the year's time. 100%. I should be looking at the UFC before that. But I definitely want to. I'd like to get like a title shot after this. After I beat this guy, I'd get a title shot, and then I'll probably defend the belt maybe once or twice, and then I'll sign pro and then just work from there. I want to do like at least 6 pro fights on the underground scene before I take it mainstream.
Awesome. Yeah, I know OCL will be happy with that, man. You seem like you got to, like I said, build a big fan base and continue to build more and more selling the tickets and build a big
Hmm.
fan base. But speaking of support, anybody you got to thank, anyone you want to mention, anything like that, sponsors, any of that
Uh,
fun stuff.
I'll start off first with thanking God. Without him, none of this is possible for anybody, you know. He gave us all life. So first is definitely God. And then I gotta thank my mother as always. She does my food for me. She washes all my clothes and my stinky gear. Like my mom's a huge support as well. And then after that, it's just my gym and everybody I train with.
Awesome. Check him out back in action. Ohio Combat League 37, April 19th at the Cherry Valley Hotel in Newark, Ohio. It will be the Slim Reaper, Ray Taylor, looking to go 3-0. And if you can't make it out, I'll be on commentary on combatsportsnow.com. So make sure you order your pay per view. But yeah, man, thank you so much for joining me.
I appreciate it, brother. Thanks for having me.
All right. And we'll be back next week with another episode.